Hello class, this is your online instructor Diana Block, and this is personal financial planning, and I was all ready to go and then somehow I got lost. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. So this is another video for week 2, and I wanted to go over a couple of things based on the homework assignments that I graded recently for week 1. Everybody for the most part did really well, but I did notice there was a few situations where there was a mix-up using, I don't know if you use Excel or maybe the future value, present value tables. So I just want to make sure I clarify that because there are some present value and future value problems in the assignment for this week, week 2. So I want to make sure you get those correct. And so this is a site that I use sometimes. You can see the URL there. But these tables are also in your book. And so I want to point out that there is more than one table. You have to be very careful which table that you are using, because if you use the wrong table, you end up with the wrong answer. So when you have this future value of $1, present value of $1, these are the tables. If you're not going to use Excel and you want to use a table, these are the tables that you will use when you have a single amount that you're going to invest. Like you're going to invest $900 right now and you're just going to let that money grow. Or you want to have $900 in the future and you need to know how much you need to invest right now to get one single $900 payment at some point in the future. You use those present value of a dollar or future value of $1, depending on whether you're trying to get the present value or the future value. Now, when you have a series of payments, so you're going to invest $900 a year for 10 years, that's more than one $900 payment. You're going to invest $900 every year. So that's a series of payments. That's when you're going to use the future value of an annuity. Or if you want to receive multiple payments, I want to receive $900 payments every year for 10 years. So how much do I need to invest now for that to happen? We're trying to get a series of payments. That's when you're going to use these future value of an annuity tables. And so again, like I said, these same tables are in your book. I just wanted to show you them all in a list format. So when you are using or trying to calculate a series of equal payments, you're going to use the annuity tables, so make sure you get the correct answers. Now this particular site has ordinary annuities and annuity due. An ordinary annuity assumes that the payment is being made at the end of the period. And that's a normal annuity. If it doesn't specify in the problem, you're going to assume it's an ordinary annuity, which means your payment is going to be made at the end of that period. So when I'm saying I want $900 a year for 10 years, the last day of each year is when we're assuming the payments will be made. Now, if it's an annuity due means that you're going to assume the payment will be made at the beginning of the period. So that, because of the fact that the payment's at the beginning of the period, that changes how long your money is compounding because you're paying it day 1 instead of day 365. So that is a different calculation, and so there's a separate table for that. So I just want to clarify, when you're using a single amount or you're trying to calculate the value of a single amount, you use that present value or future value of $1. Anytime there's a series of equal payments, that's an annuity, so you're going to use the annuity table. So you don't have to use Excel to calculate present value and future value. You can use the tables, just make sure you're using the correct one. So now if I look at the homework assignments for this week, you have a couple of them like number 4 in the chapter 5 assignment, the financial planning problem 4, you're actually computing a future value. It says, what would be the value of a savings started with $1,200 earning 3% for 10 years? So in that case, you're using only a single payment of an amount, and it's going to compound for 3 years. So that's where you're going to use the future value of $1 table. if you're not going to use Excel. And some people use Excel and they're comfortable with it, but some people also communicated that they aren't great with Excel and they'd rather use the tables or some other method until they're more comfortable with Excel. So that's why I wanted to make sure we go over that. So the way you use this future value of an annuity table, or future value of a single amount table, is you would go over to the top to the interest rate, then you would go down to the number of periods, and this is the factor that you will multiply by your investment to find out what that future value would be of that set amount. Again, this is for a single amount. If you were talking about a series of payments, you would use this future value of an annuity, and unless they say differently, you would use the ordinary annuity. And you would still go over to the interest rate and go down to the number of years, but the factor is going to be very different. So make sure you're clear on whether it's a single amount investment or a series of payments that's being invested. And let's see what else you have on your homework here. Then you also have a problem on the homework number 5 in chapter 5 where you're going to calculate present value. And it works the same way. You've got present value of $1 or present value of an annuity if you want to use the tables. So in problem 5 of chapter 5 homework, it says this person wants to have $20,000 8 years from now. So that's one single amount of $20,000. They want to have it all in a certain amount of time from now. So they're trying to find what the present amount is that they will need. So in that case, you would use this present value of $1 because that means a single amount for that. And then number 6 is assigned. In chapter 5, problem 6, financial planning problem 6, you're calculating the future value of annual deposits. See, this is different. This is not a single amount. You're going to actually make deposits every year during this period we're talking about. So it says, what if you deposited $2,500 a year for 30 years? So you're going to have 30 payments of $2,500. So again, which table would you use? You would use the future value of an annuity because it's not a single amount. It's an annuity payment. So you can use these tables. All of them work the same way. You go across to the rate and go down to the number of periods. It's just very important to make sure you're on the right table. You could, though, as I said, use Excel. And so I want to make sure I cover both of those options very well. When you go to Excel, you'll use either the PV or the FV function. I did go over this last week, but I want to just run through that part really fast in case anybody is still having questions about how to use Excel. And I know everybody's not great with Excel. Everybody hasn't had that class yet. But if you want to do these problems in Excel, they are quick and easy if you're familiar with it. So on the future value, you're going to get this box. You just go to this function box here and click the choice that you want. Let me do that again so you can see it. Here's the frequently used functions that I use. If it's not in your frequently used, you might have to change that to all to show all of them. But I have it in frequently used, so I'll pull up future value. And in the rate, you can enter the actual interest rate that's given. Now here's something that quite a few people miss. So let's say the rate is 11%, but it compounds monthly. You can type right into that rate box, divided by 12, because there's going to be 12 compounding periods per year. Or if it's going to compound or pay every 6 months, so that is twice a year, you can take your annual rate that you're given and you can type 11% divided by 2. Or if it's 6%, but it's compounded quarterly, you can just put in 6% divided by 4. And see here, Excel will calculate for you what that breakdown is for the rate. So that makes it easier if you can use Excel, because you can just put in the annual rate and divide it by the number of compounding periods in the year. So then you enter the number of periods, and that's the actual number of compounding periods. Now here's the deal with Excel. If you have a payment where it's a series of payments, like we talked about, then you'll fill in the payment field. If it's a single amount, then you'll fill in the PV field. And so that's how you make sure you get the right answer. You're either filling in the payment field or the present value field. If it's a series of payments, you put in the payment field. If it's one single amount, you'll fill in the present value field. And of course, you'll enter your number of periods either way. Oh, and we also talked about annuities due. Normally you leave this type field blank. That's why I didn't address it. And if you leave it blank, that assumes it's an ordinary annuity and the payments will be at the end of the period. If you ever have a problem where it's an annuity due, you can just type a 1 in there. A 1 changes the calculation so that it is at payment at the beginning of the period or an annuity due. So those are some things I wanted to go over with you. How to use the tables correctly to calculate present value if you don't want to use Excel or you don't like Excel. And then also how to correctly use Excel based on whether it's a series of payments or a single payment. Sorry, most of the other calculations are pretty straightforward, just division or multiplication. These are the only ones you have assigned this week that require, well, don't require, but could use some Excel functions or have to use the tables. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and we can always talk about it. I want to make sure everybody does those calculations correctly as much as possible. I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, be sure and let me know. And enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks.